All right, it's the end of the session. I'm here with Millie. This is Millie, and this is Millie's roadmap to success. Millie's a great little dog, but has some issues, just like we all do. So I think Millie's a street dog. She was found, she had a litter of pups. If dogs are, if their mother's stressed while they're pregnant, that can make them more anxious. If a dog's born in a stressful environment, it can make them more anxious. Something happens bad in the from the 3rd to 4th month, that's a fear period for puppies. That can be really long lasting. I think it's probably a safe bet that one or multiple of those occurred with Millie. And all through that, she's still pretty well adjusted. Now, we started off the session by doing a greeting that I like to do, and basically what I'd recommend you do when you have guests come over is do the same thing. So first of all, set that treat trail. We're down in Venice Beach, and there's kind of a nice little partition near the house. And make that walkway, here you go. Make that walkway the place that you leave those treat trail. So first put the treat trail, and at first I have them about 6 inches apart for about the first 3 or 4, then I go about a foot apart, then I go about 2 feet apart, and then as they get closer, when there's a person there, I start making them about a foot or 6 inches. As they get closer, the treats are more frequent. And then basically, I do that a couple times where there's nobody there, just a pile of treats at the end of it. And so she gets used to walking on that. Meeting outside, there's a lot of distractions, there's a number of escape routes, and dogs are moving forward. All 3 of those things work really well to the dog's advantage. So basically what I would do is I would do that do that every once in a while, and then do it a couple times before you're gonna meet somebody. When somebody meets them, and the video, I forgot I took a video of that first part, so we talked about that, but in the video you'll see I'm sitting here, I'm holding the camera here, and Millie's walking this way. She's approaching my side. When she came out, I held a treat in my hand like this and let her lick it off, and I didn't try to pet her there. I left my hand there. See how she's exploring my hand? She's getting more samples of me, and I'm not touching her. When you have a fearful dog, the best thing you can do is be passive. Let the dog explore you as much as she wants. So I smell good, I taste good, I have treats, probably crumbs on my hands. So she's having a positive association. So now when you stand up, I usually throw a treat or have the dog move away so I can stand up. When I stand up, that's probably more likely a time when she's gonna bite, so we can increase the distance. And right after that, then I give her another treat. And then we went for a little bit of a walk into the sand. We went around one of the volleyball courts and came back in. And when we're on that walk, every once in a while I was asking, hey Millie, sit. This is the part where you sit. Yes. And then I said the mark word and gave her a treat. And then, and now she knows hand targeting. You can do a little bit of that. If she doesn't want to sit, that's her way of saying I don't feel comfortable sitting. If she doesn't want to listen to that person, that's her way of saying I don't feel like trusting with that person yet. And you can use all sorts of different treats to this. Make sure they're pretty good treats that she likes, as we're trying to build that positive association. So after we do this beach, and we're asking for some sits, and we kind of, coming down the alley, ask for a couple more sits, a couple hand targets. As soon as you come to the door, sit, treat. Open the door, you walk through, throw a treat in there, or you can walk in. I probably have Millie go in first. So throw a treat, Millie goes in, the person goes in and immediately gives her a treat. Then tells her to sit, gives her another treat. Now she doesn't like people walking up and down the stairs. She kind of nibbled on me in the alley, and as well as I think right up here. So I would basically have the person like toss a treat, so Millie's kind of going up the stairs ahead of them. When dogs have things behind them, they kind of worry about it. And so if you have Millie, kind of the opposite of what I just said. I mean, I would just throw the treats because having Millie up in front allows the guest to see her, and it gives Millie a little bit of an advantage because Millie has higher ground. For dogs, higher they are, the more status they have. So keep on throwing those treats until she gets all the way to the top. So a person should not be walking next to her on the stairs. And eventually, unless you're doing what's the video above where we showed where I'm taking a step, giving her a treat. And that would be something I would work up to. Have somebody, have her on the leash, and they take one step, give her a treat. Take another step as they're walking up the steps. Make walking up the steps something that she gets a treat. And eventually they take 2 steps and then she gets a treat. 3 steps and she gets a treat. I go to 4 steps and she bites me at step 3. Then I need to go back to step 3. Always back up to a previous level of success. So once I came around that corner, did the same thing. I was holding a treat out, took a step, give her a treat. Same thing I did in the video above that we just shot where this camera is now. And so the idea is, now before we do all this, I forgot, we're gonna exercise her. Play a little fetch, do some scent games, take her for a little sniff walk, whatever it is, just give her 10 minutes of rest. Then she goes out and gets the treat trail. She meets the guest, they go for a little mini walk or a longer walk, dogs like walking, and keep on walking until when the guest says sit, she sits and they say yes and give her the treat. Then you come in the way I just described. When you come in here, you could give her a bully stick or you could give her a lick mat. And you put the lick mat over here or up here, she gets to watch them and the guest comes and sits over there. The guest should be careful not to move things around. Try not to have sudden movements, especially if Millie's right by. If I was sitting right next to her, I stand up suddenly, she might bite just out of reaction. So what we want to do is, if I'm going to stand up, if I might do a couple things like this, I might show her I have a treat, and then stand up and then give her that treat. You're such a good girl. Yes. Okay.
Oh.
What's that?
She went for a shake.
Did you go for a shake? Shake. There you go. I normally don't practice shake, but I got to do it for Bill.
It was just funny.
I ghosted you at that point. No, I didn't want to do that. All right. So when we got inside, we talked about marker words. We did a loading exercise. By the time the Guardians watch this, they should already have done this. So remember to do this tomorrow and Sunday. So just say yes, give her a treat. Walk around, take a couple steps, yes, and give her a treat, or a piece of kibble or whatever it is. Walk around your house and do that for about 12 to 20 treats. And then at least a half an hour or so later, then you can do it with a clicker, same thing. And you want to do that about 6 times. So each one of you does 3 of each, and then you're probably good with that. You want to do it until when you click or say yes, you can tell that there's an emotional response. If you say yes or click and she doesn't even really look at you, you probably need to keep on doing it. And once you get done loading it, then we don't have to continue doing that. Then we use the sit, the yes, to let her know the thing that she did was right. So I'm going to move her away by throwing a treat, find it. Yes, when she licked it up, to let her know that's what I wanted. When she comes back over here, I'm going to lure her into sit. Yes. So the instant her butt hits the ground, I said yes, and then I give her the treat or a pet. Now, I'd like the Guardians to use this for celebrating and teaching her manners. So manners is, if Lily is doing something inappropriate, pawing, barking, demanding attention, her Guardians are going to tell her to sit or to lie down, not shake. Tell her one time. If she does it, they're going to say yes, and then they're going to pet her. Here, 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 here. Actually, here seems to be where she really likes. When I'm gone, you might find that she likes this as well. But watch for those cutoff signals, which we'll talk about in a sec. So I'm going to tell her to sit once. When she pet me, damn it, sit. If you want me to pet you. If she sits, yes, and pet her. If she doesn't sit, lean back in the couch and watch TV, make some art, cook something, write a letter, do whatever it is you want to do. There's no punishment, there's no correction. But if you don't do what I ask, that's fine. You just don't get what you want. After a while, she's going to figure this out. She's going to go, every time I demand attention, they tell me to sit. So I'm going to come and sit in front of them to prepay for the attention. Boy, when she does that, you better pet her. Say your mark word and pet her. And we want to start rewarding. So now she's kind of figured out this is a polite way to ask for attention. So that's why we want to reward her for doing those things. Remember to use the word manner. So if she's up on my lap and I'm petting her mindlessly and somebody says manners, I would say, oh shoot, I don't realize, because anything the dog is doing right before you pet is what you're rewarding. So I'm rewarding the dog for jumping up at me. So then I would maybe stand up or ask her to get down, ask her to sit. She sits, yes, and I pet her. So manners means I caught you, or I don't, caught you is the wrong terminology. I don't think you're aware of the fact that you're rewarding the dog for undesirable behavior. Now you can pet her as many times you want, whenever you want. But if you pet her after she's doing something you don't want, you're rewarding her for doing that and she's making her likely to do it. We also talked about celebrating. Celebrating is rewarding her when she offers desired behaviors without any influence. So if she were to come to me and I pet her, I'd say yes and pet her. If she lays down, if I say yes and pet her. Now if she doesn't now when I say it, that's different. But it's just eye contact, drinking water, going to get a toy, laying on your dog bed, whatever, going potty, preferably outside. But if you reward her for sits, comes, laying down, eye contact, she's going to do those things more often. And I ask the Guardians here a question I ask a lot of my clients: what could your dog do to contribute to your group? Most people can't think of anything. Dogs need jobs. They don't want to be a freeloader. So this seems really simple to us. But if I come back and ask Millie, it's like, what can you do? Boy, they really like it when I sit. They love it when I lay down. When I give eye contact, go to the dog bed. When I pick up my toys and put them back in the basket, they love that. So if we're going to reward her with our attention is a currency. Now, if we reward her for the things that she does, she's going to be more likely to do them again. And now the watch word we use to celebrate. So if she comes and sits down next to me and I didn't see it, somebody says celebrate to me, I'm going to say yes. And we reach down and pet her under her chin or on her chest. We went over cutoff signals. Cutoff signals for dogs include leaning away, turning away, lowering the head, ducking back, rotating the ears back, refusing to come to you, licking the lips, going from an open mouth and wiggly and jiggly to stiff, like that's a big warning. Tail going up and straight and still, that's also a warning. Rolling over her back and showing your belly is being submissive. Please don't pet me there, please. And what do? We pet them on top of the head, which is what dogs don't like. So instead, She just gave me her consent. So now I can reach down and pet her. If I go like this and she turns her head aside, she's saying, I don't want you to pet me. And I need to respect what she says. If I respect what she says, she doesn't have to go to a bite or a nip. And that's the goal. We really want the dog to not do the unwanted behavior for longer than like 3 months. And that'll help the dog get into a habit of doing the things that you want. Yes, right there. That's celebrating. Yeah, I'm not going to celebrate the shake. So that's a really minor thing, and a lot of my clients disregard it. It becomes incredibly powerful if you get in the habit of doing it. I was waiting for you to do something. So the tail's up. Now seeing the tail go down. As I'm a little more alerting, more relaxed, parallel with the spine, more hanging down is normal. But if you see it up and stiff or quivering, yes, that was a very good sit. Got a little tail wag there. All right, so watch her body language. If you see her breathing heavy, staring with hard eyes or squinty eyes, so squinty, sleepy eyes, that's a good thing. So if you can learn to read her body language, so if you guess that she's upset, look at her tail. How's her tail wagging? How's she holding her head? Is her nose up or down? Is she looking at something, avoiding it? Is she leaning one way or the other? So once we can learn how to read our dog's body language, a bite is a form of communication. We don't like it, but it is a form of communication, usually because we didn't listen to or heed the other cues. So we can start recognizing she turned away and this, and we stop the thing from happening. She doesn't have to go to a bite. If your dog ever does bite, growl, bare its teeth, grumble, never correct it for that. I always tell people you should interpret that as a dog's way of saying, I feel uncomfortable or I disagree. If I tell somebody I'm uncomfortable, they say, shut up. It's not going to help me feel more comfortable. It's probably going to amplify my behavior. And if you're successful with your dog, you teach your dog not to grumble or not to warn and go straight to a bite. We don't like that. We also, now that I think about it, we went over hand targeting. And the Guardian's using it right now. He did a great job. She went over to my bag that's full of all sorts of delicious things, and he just gave her a quick hand target. She came over to him. She got a treat for doing so, touching her nose to her hand, and then she sat down next to him. She's content. So I like to use the kissing sound. The Guardian's here been using that as a recall. I like to use that as a positive interrupter. So if she's doing something I don't want, I might say, boop. Now she hasn't done this enough to do it, so I'm going to help her out a little bit.
Go get it. Find it.
Boop. Yes. Then I put that treat on my hand. So the positive interrupter is all attention is validating. So if she gets in my bag and I say, Millie, don't do that. Yes. Then she's more likely to do that again because that got my attention. But if she gets in my bag and I go, and she looks at me and I go, touch, or boop, which is her word. Yes. She walked away from whatever it is I didn't want her to do. I've redirected her and used the hand targeting for that. Then I'm going to ask her to sit. Yes. Down. Sit. Down. I've seen you lay down. I know you know how to do it. Down. Probably needs to work on her down. You can use that with a clicker. So walk around your house. Sit, click, treat. Down. You can do it. Do you not want to do it on this floor? What is your word?
She struggles with it.
Never does it.
Okay.
Yeah,
She struggles with it. We've been trying.
So that would be something great to celebrate. Every time she lays down, yes, and pet her.
Okay.
Now, I could do something called shaping, which I didn't go over with the Guardians. So watch, if she moves one of her legs forward, I can say yes and release that one. That's part of a lay down. So shaping is rewarding the dog for part of the exercise. What I like her to do is move one of her legs forward. But if she's going down on the floor, yes. We're going to try to see if we can use shaping to get you down. Oh, you got to stay sitting though. Yes. So shaping is, if I can't get her to go down, I'm just going to get her used to, yes, this is part of going down. Extending her neck down. And then eventually I would wait till she sticks one of her paws forward. Even though it's not laying down, I'd say yes. And then even if it's just oscillating, that's getting ready to move it. And eventually you get one paw, then the next paw, the next paw. Now laying down also puts the dog at a disadvantage. She might say, dude, you've been here for like 4.5 hours. You talk nonstop. You won't shut up. I can't sleep. You're here way too long. I want you to leave. I'm not going to lay down. Remember, sitting and laying down puts the dogs at a little bit of a disadvantage. So if she doesn't want to do it, don't force her to do it, especially around guests. But what I would do is use that clicker. So walk, and I call this the invisible rubber band technique. So if I go like this, see how she stopped tracking it? So what I do, if I'm going to lure her down, if she goes here, the rubber band pulls it back. I keep it next to her nose the whole time. Yes. So always keep that treat within an inch or two of her nose when you're luring her down. So just every time she lays down, say yes and pet her. And after you do that, she's like, they really seem to like this laying down position, which makes it easier. Another way you can teach her to lay down, let's see if I can use the old school method. Oh, I'm getting old. Come here, Millie. Come here. You can do it. It's like, now you're trying to trick me. Well, the old method that what we do is we put it underneath something, like my leg, so she has to lay down essentially to get to. She's being crafty. And that's okay, but I think in her case, I think if she's tired and she doesn't want to lay down because that puts her at a little bit of a disadvantage, and that's okay. That's why I don't ask the dog to sit or lay down. I'll ask once. If they don't do it, I move the dog further away, and then I'll reward them when they do it. Yes, and that's a good celebrate example right there. So, so you can get that treat that's right there. Find it a ways. So to do a find it away, what you would do is, I don't have enough treat. Oh, I do have a couple more. So let's say that there's somebody that she does, that you want her to get used to. Well, I can use it for a couple of reasons. She doesn't need it for this, but let's say she has something in her mouth. Well, if I want to teach her to drop it, I'm going to wait for her to have an object in her mouth, and I hold this up to her mouth, and she drops it, I would say yes and put the treat in her mouth, and I don't pick the object up. It's important to do that with low value items like her toys that she's used to you not showing interest in. And then when she does it consistently, I say drop, she drops it, I say yes and put it in treat and in her mouth, and I don't pick it up. Now let's say that she did have something I didn't want her to have, and I wanted to get it from her. If I take it away from her, I can create resource guarding. So she's got the remote control to her, in her mouth, I say, find it, drop it. She drops her remote control again, and I say find it, remote control's here. And I throw another treat, if I can get to my second pouch, find it, and I throw a couple treats to get her away, and then I take the remote control up and I'm going to leave it with a bully stick, or a cow kneecap, or an ear, or a trachea, or a tendon, or something of equal or greater value. Otherwise, sometimes we'll develop a resource guarding issue. All right, we also talked about, I'm going to celebrate this, yes. We also talked about physical exercise, mental stimulation. So physical exercise, tug of war, sniffing on walks burns more energy, so let her sniff. Let me see, what else? Yeah, you want more treats, huh? Let me see, there's also feeding her out of a snuffle mat, getting an Omega Paw treat ball and feeding her that. Since she seems to really like food, and she's probably got a habit of scavenging, which is why she just kind of looks Venice Beach and she runs to the restaurants trying to get food for herself. Start feeding her 3 times a day. Get some fresh carrots. Get about 7-10 carrots. Chop them up into little bits about that size and sprinkle them in with her food. The fiber will help her feel fuller. Let me see. There's also that cookie in the corner game where I say find it, throw 1 treat. I say yes when she gets it. She comes back and I call here. She comes back to me. I say yes, give her a treat. Then I throw 2 treats, 3 treats, and so on. Google scent games. There's a whole bunch of scent games you can practice with her. It's a great way for her to use her nose. She's got a pretty good nose. It's an extended nose, so she should have good dexterity with her nose. And if you can teach her to find treats, yes. Or things around the house, that's a good distraction. When you do have guests come over, I think I mentioned this earlier, but have that lick mat with peanut butter. So once the guest does all the other stuff I talked about earlier, then you put the lick mat over here. She can lay down this nice carpet and lick it. And she's got a fur coat, so she might like to lay it just on the hardwood floor to cool her down. But now those feel-good endorphins are being released. The guest is over there, so you have more distance and she feels comfortable. And try to keep those visits short and gradually lengthen them. What else do we talk about, Millie?
Millie.
No, yeah, I said Millie, then I said Lily.
Okay.
Yes. Let me see. Feeding, I think I've covered just about anything. Is there anything else you want me to cover?
I don't think so.
Try to incorporate those pre-max. Like I said, ask her to sit before you prepare her food or before you throw the ball or whatever it is. When she does want to play fetch and she's in that mood, try to stop what you're doing and play a little fetch with her.
What about responding to a dog or a skateboard that she doesn't like?
So if anytime she's reactive, then we want to increase the distance. Once she's reactive, she's barking and lunging, then just you have to move around a shrubbery or whatever. Then I do a little touch. I gotta have something in my hand. I gotta have a treat, huh? Boop. Yes. And then do a couple of those and find it. Just get her kind of resettled down. And then what I do is I increase the distance. So maybe I'm 25, or I was 25 feet, she reacted. So I try 30 feet. And she looks at them. So I'll do it right here. I'll just use my hand. So yes. So my hand is to represent the dog. Yes. So when she looks at the dog, I say yes, or I click, and then I'm giving her a treat. So the dog's there, she's looking at the dog. Let's do that one more time. Looks at the dog, and now see how she looked and looking back. But that's the thing, the dog I was working with earlier today in Redondo, it freaks out at dogs. And I was doing the find it, and the dog walked right behind the dog, didn't even bark and lunge because it was more interesting in the treats that were right there. Yes. So, yes, you're gonna shake. So this is called the engage-disengage game. I call it click for looks. So she looks at the dog, yes, and then I hold in the treat here. So she's looking at the dog. I'm saying yes when she looks, and then she's hearing the click or looking at me. She's turning away from the dog and getting a treat for doing so. At 20 feet, and eventually maybe we get to 19 feet, 18 feet, 17 feet. Eventually, gradually collapse that distance. But we call that a proceeding. We want her to look at the dog and then get something positive that happens. But if she's reacting, we're too close. Now we're kind of upstairs, and there's a street right outside where dogs walk by. And there's a couple dogs she doesn't like. She looks down at them, she barks. So if you cover that bottom of that window with white paper or a film, so if she's there, I mean, I wouldn't usually put a dog bed or blanket right next to the window if the dog has a problem like that, because you're kind of saying, I want you to be my guard dog. But if you put that white paper there, when she looks down and she hears them and she barks, she doesn't get to see them walk away, so it doesn't validate that particular behavior. But really, she's pretty good with dogs. I think she's good with people. I think she just needs to meet people outside and meet them a couple times. And then come in and short visits become longer visits, but choose all the greeting outside, but not in the dark. Because the dark is, I think, their eyes are not as good as the dark. They get kind of spooked. Now, if you're going to have people come over for a party, try to have them all come over individually and do the greeting a couple times outside, and then have two of them come by. I mean, if you can, setting her up for success or setting her up to fail. So let's let her meet the person by themselves without the disruption of a party and a lot of people in your house. Now, I've met everybody that's here. Yeah, they're all here. They're disturbing my peace, but I know them all. And they're all full of treats. So I like them. Is that right, Millie? Yes. That's another sit for attention. That's a cutoff signal. She just turned away. So now I'm going to pet her on her chest. And she's not turning away. She's saying, I'm cool with you petting me that way. All right, Millie, is there anything else you want me to go over? Millie would like to have more bully sticks. And I would get seriously, I'm joking, but I would also go to Best Bully and get like a bag of bully bites. Make sure you get the odor-free ones if you don't want the ones that smell. And the idea is to have those on hand. So that way, if she does steal something, you can go ahead and trade it. Or if you have a friend stops by unexpectedly, you can go ahead and sit. Yes. And you have something to give her. But that lick mat is great because you can always put peanut butter on. Just don't get the bougie, really high-end peanut butter. I'm just kidding. But the stuff that's really runny just won't work very well. Cream cheese or peanut butter is probably the better. Just regular standard peanut butter is probably the best way to do it. All right, get up here. Find it.
What about knocking on the door?
The knocking on the door, that's counter conditioning. So that would be the thing where you're treat, 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 treat. And then you're doing, so you're going, yes, I know you stressed you out a little bit. I'm going from the lighter one to the stronger one. The last thing, that's basically their knocking. The other thing I talked about was the door. So I would, right around the bend here is the top of the stairs. So I would go over there, tell her to sit. It's kind of a weird place for you to sit. You kind of look like an Ewok. Sit. So tell her to sit there, then take one step, come back, give her a treat, repeat that 3 times. If that one step causes her to go, take a half step. Yes, I know. I have more treats for you, I promise. Yes, I see that you're offering everything you know to get those treats. So then I take a half step and then a full step and then 2 steps down the stairs, 3 steps down the stairs. And I keep on coming to the top of the stairs and giving her a treat. We're teaching her what we want her to do and the behavior we want when we're going to the door. So eventually it gets to the point where you can get her, come here, Millie. Here, get it. Yeah, I'm out of treats. You don't know that though. But the idea is we're gonna make going down the stairs, she gets a treat for that. And then eventually I'm going to reach for the handle but not touch it and walk all the way to the top of the stairs and say yes and give her a treat. Eventually I touch the handle, jiggle, and give her a treat. And then I'm jiggling it harder, then I'm jiggling the deadbolt. Yes. And eventually then I go down the bottom of the stairs, knock, and then I walk all the way to the top of the stairs and give her a treat. And then eventually, well, yes, you're really fired up now. Then I would have the partners, her guardians, when they come home, park a little bit further away, and then call each other, me on the phone. Hey, I'm gonna go to the door. And so now you've practiced all the warm-ups that I just described. Now somebody comes in, lightly knocks on the door, you open the door, your partner comes in, you go all the way to the top of the stairs, give her a treat, and your partner comes to the top of the stairs and gives her a treat. She runs down, then we need to make it easier. So maybe we open the door and show the partner and close the door, then I come to the top of the stairs. So we always want to make it easier and set the dog up for success. All right, Billy, anything else? Let me see. Oh, I do have a little bit more. Just a little bit. I'm literally at the crumbs. It's just the dust. All right.
Plowed through packages of them. Find it.
Find it. Right here.
Blind.
There we go. All right. Well, this is my buddy. Sit. Millie, sit. Sit. Yes. This is my buddy Millie, and this is Millie's Roadmap to Success. Remember, everything you do trains your dog, only sometimes you mean it.